Hey everyone, welcome to our small footprint. It is, I don't know, day 4 maybe of food prep. It is early morning, it's only 7ish, and it is only 10 degrees out here. So I came out to do my voiceover because the quietest place in the house is the garden, and to do this little intro. Mind you, dogs going in the background and the kids are playing in the caravan and thumping around, but that's life. So I came out to do an intro for today's video. We have what did we make today? We filled the pies, so we made the actual pie fillings, pies with the filling that I made yesterday, and we did I don't know, Mandarin cake, and totally forgotten, but watch along and you'll see everything that we managed to get done in the day, and I will see you again tomorrow. Thank you very much for watching, and please subscribe if you haven't. Thumbs up really helps with the videos being seen as well. So I will see you next time. Thanks. Started the day off with flatbread. Now, I mustn't have filmed making this flatbread last night, so I did this sourdough flatbread last night to use in the morning, which is how I normally do my doughs. I mix them up the night before and then they're ready to go in the morning when I'm ready. This is my standard sourdough flatbread mix. I'll try and remember to put it in the comments because I get asked all the time about it and I just cannot get the blog going at the moment to be able to share in that way. But I did my normal flatbread. We did the standard weighing it and rolling it out and cooking it up, and this is sort of what it looked like when it was cooked up and done and ready to go. And then we served it with more of the pulled pork. As I said, when we make something like the pulled pork, we try and eat it straight out of the fridge for as long as possible. We warmed this up in the cast iron, the pork, when we're using it here, but we eat it for a few days before we look at freezing it because it's just a convenient way to do it and saves that double handling. I used some of my duck egg mayo and some of our pickled coleslaw off the shelf on these as well. I make this orange and almond cake, but navels aren't in season at the moment and I have an abundance of mandarins, so I decided to try making it with mandarins. So I stuck the mandarins in a pot and boiled them for a while. Most places say up to 2 hours. I just did it for however long I had time for in between other things. So I stuck them in a pot, put a lid partially on it, and let it go on the stove while I was doing other things. I decided to try doing some of the garlic in the smoker to see if having it, when you roast garlic, it goes really soft inside the skins and it's quite easy to squeeze out. And I was hoping that maybe if I smoked it and roasted it slightly that I could just squeeze them out rather than sitting there peeling them the other way. So I sorted as the bigger cloves out and stuck them in this container in the smoker to see how they went. Today was a little bit of a mishmash of having to get a lot of different things done, so you'll see me flicking backwards and forwards between tasks here. I don't change the timing of the video, I give it to you as the day progresses. So after I stuck that in the smoker, the mandarins were ready, so I sliced them in half and pulled as many seeds out as possible, which also is another benefit of using navels because they don't have seeds. So I pulled all the seeds out that I could find. They were very hot still, so that made it a little bit more difficult, and then threw it in the Thermomix. I added all the other ingredients. So what else we put in there is sugar, almond meal, eggs, baking powder, a bit of salt. It's a very basic recipe, but it's really tasty. And then it all goes into the Thermomix and gets blended up into a puree. You could use a food processor, you could use anything you want, but the Thermomix works wonderfully for this. I love my Thermomix for all these sorts of tasks. And then when it comes off when it's done in the Thermomix, it looks like this. It's just sort of a puree, and we pour it into tins. So I don't have two of the same size tin at the moment. Candy gifted me this tin, which is great, and I will have to buy myself a second one, and then that way I will have two the same size. So I then ran a second one through. So I find that I need about 2.5 mandarins or 2.5 navel oranges when they're about the size that these are per cake. So I just boiled 5 of them and then I made a second batch. So I just threw it all in the same bowl, same again, and then poured it into the cake tin. For dinner tonight, we're using that leek and chicken pie filling that I made yesterday. So, you know, sometimes I do meal plan just a little bit. So I just use store-bought puff pastry. I don't make puff pastry from scratch. It's not worth my time to do. Store-bought puff pastry is actually pretty good ingredients-wise these days. You can get it vegan, so there's no dairy in it, and it's inexpensive. So I buy puff pastry. I just sliced it in half to 2 rectangles each piece, and then it takes about 1/3 of a cup of the pie filling I found. You could probably go a little bit higher, but the kids were helping me here and I didn't want to put so much filling in it that they would struggle to fold up the sides of the pastry. So 1/3 of a cup worked well, a good sort of a solid 1/3 of a cup in the middle of the thing, and then you just fold the rectangle in half and you fold up the edges so that you could crimp them, but you're going to risk leakage. You're better off folding up the sides of these particular pies, folding it up into itself and creating a little parcel out of it. And I find that if you use the plastic that the puff pastry comes on, or if you were using silicone with your own homemade puff pastry or something like that, that works well to just spin it on the bench while you're trying to do all the edges, because the more you handle puff pastry, the softer it gets, and it's pretty easy to tear as it heats up in your hands. We like it to be neat, but it doesn't have to be perfect, and always make sure to put a slit in the middle of the pie so that the steam can release and the puff pastry puffs up nice. It doesn't go soggy inside from all that steam. So here's a close-up of how I folded those edges. So I'm just folding them up on top of themselves so that they create an upwards sort of a twist, so that it creates a pocket for the pie filling. I find that this works really well, and so we kept on going with those. Now the kids decided that they wanted to help, which is always welcome. So I have some clips here of the kids folding them up and egg washing and things like that for you to have a look at, or skip past if that's what you desire. I sped it up because, you know, they're a little slow, but that's, you know, to be expected. So here is the kids helping out with all of those as well. This is the cakes out of the oven. They're a bit of a low and slow bake. They take 45-50 minutes. They're a very dense cake. So I pulled them out to cool while I went back to doing other things, and the pies had to go into the oven straight after the cakes came out. So the cakes came out to cool and the pies went in to cook. Once the pies came out of the oven, this is what they look like. The first lot are a little pale. I'd like them a little bit more browned, but the kids were hovering. They were hungry, apparently, and they wanted dinner. So I had to pull them out. They were cooked, just not quite as brown as I would like, and then I had to slice them. while they were still hot. So this is what they look like inside. The pie filling gets nice and wet and moist, and the but the pastry holds it in well. They're very tasty, and again, this is while they're hot, so it was hard to handle, but the kids really enjoyed them. While the kids were eating and I had put more of the pies in the oven, we got the garlic out of the smoker. So as you can see, when you squeeze them when they've been roasted, they sort of just slip out of their skins, which is what we were hoping for. So we pulled a whole bunch of them. So I put a whole bunch in. I'm pretty impressed with it. I will do this with another couple of bowlfuls, I think, and then I'll just freeze it. So we just squeezed them all into a Pyrex bowl while they were warm, because I'd imagine it's easier to squeeze them while they're warm, though I might keep a couple cold to test that theory as well, and then fill the bowl with it all. I will probably freeze these in teaspoonfuls, might put them in ice cubes with some olive oil, maybe. We'll see. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do with them yet, but for the moment I'm going to spread them directly onto sourdough. This is what the cake looks like inside. The kids had to have some for dessert, of course, so I had to slice one up. So it's a real sort of a dense, creamy consistency on the inside. It's very citrusy, and it's definitely a flourless cake, like the texture of a flourless cake, but everyone really likes it, and I make it regularly when navels are in season, and I'm actually going to try canning whole navels to see if that will work, and then that way I can have the orange cake even when there isn't any oranges in season. We also add cacao to it sometimes too, and have chocolate orange cake, which the kids really enjoy as well. I thought I'd show you some images of my starter. So this is my starter when it's ready to go. I don't always cook with it when it's at peak, because timing just doesn't happen, but it just happened to be at peak, so I thought I'd show you all the lovely bubbles in it. And then I made dough and for tomorrow. So I was making 2 loaves of bread, because again, sometimes I do meal plan, so we're going to have soup and bread for dinner tomorrow night. So I made up 2 batches of just standard sourdough bread, and then I thought I'd share some of the cleanup that was required for the evening and show you what my kitchen can look like after a day of such a mixed bag of tasks that have to be completed. And also I thought I'd give you a look at what the dough looks like in its first and second stretch and fold, so how the dough changes from that shaggy mess that I make it up to when you're stretching and fold it, and create some tension in that dough. And that was it for the day. So thank you very much for watching again, and come join me tomorrow, and you can see the bread and the soup that are planned from today, and anything else that we get done tomorrow, and I will see you again. Thanks for watching.